So
you want, you lead it off. These books are blowing my mind. I'm seeing like the puppetry of the penis.
Dude, so one of my favorite
Hickson's Breathe.
Yeah.
The gravity system. There you go.
That's the original booklet from the original Boots.
That looks like an old one. What year was that?
Like the 70s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so like that's like I said, that the boots that we both have.
Yeah.
Like the original ones were those, and it was like an infomercial thing.
Yeah.
Right, and it was like you see on late night TV like the gravity guy. So like I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see people doing it a lot.
Yeah.
Like the inversion this way because like it was like a gimmicky thing, but it's obviously fucking amazing.
What do you think? Like I kind of got I've just gotten away from it, not because I didn't like it, just because I don't know, I guess I don't have time. But what have you found like the main like benefits from it?
Oh, so
because I know you do it pretty.
I do it every day. Yeah, at least once. And like if I train, I do it before and afterwards for sure, and then usually at the nighttime right before I go to bed. So the benefits I found are like my breathing first primarily, because like initially it's difficult to breathe when you're upside down for a little while. Right?
Yeah.
But after you're used to it, it's like I could fall asleep in that position, and it's like I might just be like, oh, took a little nap, but like.
That might be a little scary then.
Well, I mean, it doesn't happen very often. Like that's maybe happened like once. I was like, okay, but no, like it trains all your circulatory system to have like that pressure like for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Because initially it's really difficult, as you know. It's like 2-3 minutes, but after
it's uncomfortable at first. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you hang now, mostly?
What I'll do is my kind of routine is I'll go and I'll play Tetris like this for like 2 rounds of however I'll play 2 games, and it's against like 99 other people. Okay. So like there's a few times where I've won, and these are like people who are good at Tetris.
Yeah.
So like playing Tetris, so that's usually around 15 minutes or so.
Ah, okay, so that's a long one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done 15. I think I did 10 once was the longest when I was doing it, semi-regularly. But,
yeah.
Well, just I guess we're on, right? We're live, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I for the people that don't know what we're talking about like hanging upside down by your feet, and we do that at the gym. Well, you got me into that kind of initially, and then I've kind of since I haven't been keeping up with it, but I think it's good too. I felt like for me it decompressed my spine. I thought that was a big benefit because I'm kind of tight in that area. My diaphragm's kind of tight, so just that. Just stretching out that long period of hang where you can't stay tight for whatever I was doing, 6 minutes, 8 minutes or whatever. But that's what I found. And you do some exercises from that also, right?
Yeah,
you do like sit-ups and ab, like core work and stuff.
And so that's another huge benefit, right? It's like, as you know in Jiu-Jitsu, like the aspect of foreign aspect connection is like your whole body being able to like frame up as one piece, right? And so when you're upside down, like I figured that like when you're twisting the one way or the other, like if I'm trying to come forward and close my body up, I need to twist inwards like this. And so the interesting thing is when you're hanging upside down, if you're here and you just start to twist like this, you'll start to feel yourself just like you're not pulling. You're not pulling with your abs. You're just starting to curl up like a
What do you mean twist? Where are you twisting?
So if you imagine my body is like 2 poles, if I'm standing like straight up and down like this, if I start to twist my thumbs like inwards and
your thumbs
and then
my
big toes at the same time are also, you can't see what I'm doing, but like everything twisting like into itself like this. And so eventually I start to curl up, and it's not because I'm I'm not pulling with my legs or my abs. It's just this twist that's like curling your whole body up.
It's interesting, yeah.
And I think that's one of the things where like sometimes people will be like, man, it's like I'm rolling with them. They'll be like, you're really strong. It's like, no, I'm using all my muscles at once. Yeah. It's not the same thing. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not absolute like be able to generate a lift type strength, but I think that is what you just mentioned is super underrated in jiu-jitsu. The more you think about it, like anytime, almost all the bottom position stuff, you need. If you're just laying flat on your back, I mean, there's an element of relaxation to that, but that's not where you're moving, right? You're always engaging your core. Like even at seminar we had Dante Leon he talked a little bit about engaging that core, keeping your spine a little bit concave, without using too much energy. He was just kind of moving his head forward and kind of engaging that and that creates less surface area and a lot of the spinning, the moving stuff. That's part of it. That's not even the only reason, but I think that's like today in comp practice we were working on, inverting in different leg, like inside Senkaku 50-50, and it was all that. It was 100% that, like that, moving everything together, keeping your core strong so your body moves as a unit. And I don't drill a lot of stuff just to repeatedly drill stuff at this point, but that I needed to, because I was actually practicing what you just said, keeping that connection and moving things. The movement itself I didn't have down, like the technique in that way. Like I needed to train my body to move the most efficient way I could. It wasn't about timing at that point for me. I wasn't even there yet for that. I just need to get better at that, so that's what we were all, and I think everybody, even to a more degree, needed, a lot of the people in the class. So yeah, that would probably help a lot of jiu-jitsu people hanging upside down, I think.
Absolutely, man. And so that twisting, is I actually mentioned this in the intro class. That, I try to mention every time. So it's like, in order to save energy, it's like a bridge cable, right? Like your muscles are kind of like that, right? It's like there's one of two ways to kind of like get power, right? You can squeeze them, which is the dark side of the force, or you can start to twist them, right? It's like a towel, right? And think about if you start twisting like a towel in one direction, you know how if you probably twist the towel up like really tight before?
Yeah.
It starts to curl in one direction, right? And that's the same exact thing. It's like, so if I'm curling my hand this way, like I can create, without actually using any energy, I can make this solid by just keeping turning my hand in one direction, right? And so if I keep doing that, let's say actually the buggy choke is a great position example, right? So usually what I'm trying to do is, the reason why I'm able to exert so much force in the back, this back lever here on the back of the crown of the head, is because twisting over top of it, I'm not like doing this.
You're twisting that.
I'm twisting this,
arm.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and if you look at me and Mike rolling, when I'm like threatening that, I'm twisting my whole arm. I'm actually straightening my arm to the sky. I'm not twisting it like this, and so it's making my whole this side one piece. And so it's almost impossible to force this closed to get the Van Fleu, right? So the Van Fleu is like almost negated, especially because it changes this angle here. Anyway, the twisting though is the point.
Yeah.
It's like this is and you can just hold this, right? I just hold it all day. So I'm just turning my thumb.
Right? Yeah.
I'm just turning my thumb this way.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of gets into like those things of jiu-jitsu that you have to be like really aware while you're training. It's not a technique per se. It's just how you're moving, where you're exerting force, what muscles you're tensing, right? Like that's something that I think it's hard to be aware of that stuff when you're training. It's not impossible, but like when you're training with like, let's say your peers versus like, if I'm training with a blue belt or something, or a purple belt or something like that, I feel like I'm pretty in control with, I can think more about that stuff, right? Rather than just constantly thinking about surviving or, even setting up attacks and stuff. I can really delve into, am I moving correctly? Am I being tense when I don't need to be? Am I, pushing too hard? Is my force, can I feel their force going? Things like that. I think that's something you get when you're training with people who are less skilled than you. That's good.
Absolutely. And I don't undervalue, in fact, I really appreciate you allowing me to teach the intro class, because one of the big things for me is at the end we do the feet on hips drill every time.
Yeah.
And so because I can hone in so much, because I'm not these are all almost brand new people. Sometimes I have some people who want to kind of help the newer people also.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. But mostly it's one first day, second day. So these people don't know anything they're doing. And so I'm not, not to show off, but I usually have them train with me so they can feel it's the game for me is it's fun, because it's I can make it into a game of how little can I use to win this game, because no one's crushing anybody, it's I'm either standing up or I'm just pulling them into my closed guard, and it's if you can do it, I can do it easily to most new people, right, unless they're humongous and it might take a second, but I'm able to practice really getting it super, so it's now to them it's I'm like Pai Mei from Kill Bill. They're people, my goal is to make people laugh, to make them laugh because they don't know what happened.
I think next time when you do the intro class, you should quote Pai Mei and be it's like a worm fighting an eagle. That's my favorite quote. Like a worm fighting an eagle. It's quite a visual image. You're the worm.
I'm definitely going to use that next time.
Well, it's not people that don't listen. People who are listening to this, we're talking about the intro classes. So these are classes. Jared teaches these, right, for brand new most of the time I would say they have zero experience in any grappling thing.
Yes.
Most of the time. Once in a while you get somebody that had a little bit, or
you get a pit wrestler coming down.
A wrestler or something. Yeah. But a lot of times it's not that. It's somebody who's, and I would even put that even further, because we have a like 3 different paths for new people. They can do the intro classes, which I suggest most people start with, and then they can also jump right into the fundamentals, which is a beginner-based curriculum class, or they can go into they can just do a one-on-one, right? And I think that the intro class is probably the best case scenario for most people. And what it is, it's sometimes people haven't done anything athletic ever in their life, and they're going into this, it's kind of scary. They're going into this grappling, but you kind of take them through, like, how would you describe it? Like, how would you describe what your kind of like overall goals are to, like, what would you're trying to do what to these new people, or show them what, or what?
I'm trying to show them that like the basic principles of jiu-jitsu do allow people to have, like, kind of power no matter how big or strong they are. And I show it through the two of the basic concepts being base and connection. And it's like literally just going through, like, really simple examples of, like, how if I lean a certain way, it's, like, almost effortless to do this thing. And then if I, like, put my fist here and I, like, lean this way, then, like, it's very easy to stop somebody from pushing me at all. Like making those people feel like that power where it's like, oh yeah, I can just, like, lean this way. And, like, this person who's definitely bigger than me can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I try to do it, especially in, like, a non-intimidating way, like towards the end, like, so we do the feet on hips drill, which is it's a fun drill. It's, like, it's not super athletic, and I tell people, so the first thing I tell them, and I think this is really important, is that whoever is the least tired at the end of the class is the winner.
Yeah.
And so, like, because then I say, like, we're going for efficiency right now. Like, you don't have to do that. You can play any number of ways, like, you're grappling. But, like, if you in this class, what we're talking about is the efficiency aspect of it, where, like, most of these brand new people can really feel like, oh yeah, if I move efficiently, this works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other part of that too is you're giving them these two concepts, and they're starting to learn those a little bit, or just see examples of them. But that would give people an idea one part of how powerful jiu-jitsu is, and I think that's something that's, it's almost like you see a magic trick. You see something and you're like, oh, how can this person that's smaller than me? I can't. That's a lot of things. People, when they first start jiu-jitsu, they're like, they have an aha moment where they say, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't, I was just stuck. I couldn't control this person or whatever, or they were controlling me. And I think to a lot of people, it's kind of you don't realize the degree to which that happens if you've never done any grappling. Like it's amazing. You see people that think they're tough or they're fighters, and now that, if they get some training, they can quickly close that gap, and with some of the basics if they're athletic and stuff. But you just see some people that are just, they have no idea if you've never felt that. So yeah, come in and try if you're interested in your own capabilities, right? Like that's one of the main things. You don't want to go through life like assuming stuff. If worst case scenario, you don't like it, you tried something and it's not for you. It's definitely. Somebody said it to belt promotions. I really liked that. It was actually, they were re-quoting another black belt that I heard. One of our black belts said. He said, Jiu-Jitsu is not for everybody. It's for anybody. And what they meant was, like, it's not for everybody. It's kind of a weird activity. You're there. Right? Like,
yeah, we're sweating all over each other.
Yeah, there's a combative aspect to it.
Yeah.
There's a if you don't like close contacts, definitely not going to be for you. But anybody can do it. Kind of speaking to what you're saying, like, you don't have to be super athletic if you learn. There's things to learn, and some of that's techniques, some of it's concepts, like what you're saying. So.
Yeah, so before I found jiu-jitsu, I was given a different example of the same idea. So I played volleyball since, like, high school and stuff, so I love volleyball. And so I was playing in, like, an intramural league somewhere, and there's two different teams. One team had a really tall guy, and one team had this really big guy. Like, he's big. And so the tall guy, like, this guy's tall. And so he would just stand at the net and just, like, This guy couldn't. He wasn't athletic. He was just like the tall, stringy, mean guy.
Dude, yeah.
He's big as fuck. You know, he's just like boom, hitting, just but destroying us.
Yeah.
So it's like frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I mean, yeah. You did it. Good for you. You know, he's like dunking on us.
I hope you're having fun.
Right. I hope you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's this big guy, and like this is the kind of big guy who like he can only move at like a fast walk. You know, like this is how big this guy is.
He's like muscle bound or whatever.
No. I mean like
big,
not in good shape
big.
guy.
Oh,
like
okay.
a fat guy. Like not fat, but like a big, very, you know, he's round. But this guy is also destroying us because this guy, every time the ball goes in that, this guy's in the right place.
Yeah.
He's in the right place every time.
Yeah.
The ball will not hit the ground on their side because his knowledge of the game and like knowing like where like as soon as the ball comes off this way, he knows like okay, it could be, it's like when you're in jiu-jitsu, you know it's like as soon as this person takes their foot off of the foot floor here, it's going to be one of two things like that. And so like that it was demonstrated that like oh yeah, you could just be like really good at understanding what's going on and just smoke people, and you don't have to like this. And this guy like between he just like lumber off the court and take a big gut of water. It's like this guy, and it was frustrating too. But I was like happy to be frustrated. I was like I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's amazing. Fuck this guy.
I think that's a great like you contrasted those two different frustrating things, and that happens exactly in jiu-jitsu, right? Like it's the same thing, and really the ideal of jiu-jitsu. That's what I always say. Like I sometimes I tell people we're not qualify this a little bit. We're not a school that doesn't like to we like to train hard. Maybe to a fault, right? Like, but I always tell people, especially in a fundamentals class, positional training, I'm like, you can't do that. That's not the ideal. If that's how you got good at jiu-jitsu, just going winning by force or gritting through something, and then we just do a whole bunch of steroids and get huge, and everybody would win. You wouldn't. Why learn? But that's not the ideal. It's that guy you talked about, the fat guy. It's always in the right position. It's maybe doesn't have the physical gifts. I think that just made me think of. My son's a big soccer player. He's a kid, and he's like plays soccer, and he is maybe a little less good than he was when he was younger, because kids have gotten like some kids are already going through puberty or whatever, and
Sure.
they're bigger and stronger, but he still has that, like he's always in the right place, so he still hangs. He's still pretty good. Just because. He puts himself in the right place most of the time. He's not the fastest. He's little. He's tiny actually, but he's third percentile for weight or something. But he puts himself in the right position, and he can still do good things on the field. And that's a really cool thing. Ball sports like volleyball, it's a little different, but the concept I guess is kind of that. You just made me think of that actually. The concept is kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think across a lot of just when they're doing anything, like maybe not competitive or strategic, right? It's like if you're in the right place at the right time, you win.
Yeah.
It's like it seems simple, but it's like that's true even in like these things that seem complicated like jiu-jitsu or those games. It's like you couldn't solve them mathematically, but it's like if you're in the right place at the right time, it's going to work.
And that right place with your body, right place with you when you're thinking about something as complex as jiu-jitsu, it's combat sports. It's like you have to put their body in the right place, and then you have subterfuge and fusion timing as well to add into that where you're placing yourself, right? Because as you get to a higher and higher level, right, everybody know, and this isn't like 100% true, but like everybody knows more or less what the positions you want to be into, right? So then you have to use a little bit of sometimes trickery, sometimes whether that's playing like a rope-a-dope or whether that's feinting or whatever kind of things like that, and there's also a lot of timing involved, right? So that's what takes a lot of skill to develop, like the timing and things like that. But yeah, that's the ideal that we strive for in skill in sports. That's why it's my favorite game, and it's complex and fun,
Same. Yeah, I found my favorite game too. I mean, it's like so. I think the best way I can make people who don't do this understand what it feels like to get to a. Now, I'm not saying I'm the level of you, but like where it's like I feel like I understand like if this is happening, then chances are like I kind of see the bigger game a little bit. Yeah. But so like it's because a lot of people when they're kids, right? You play rock paper scissors with your whoever, like some of your friends or your siblings or something. And so like every time, like jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like if I had to like explain, if you didn't know how to use your hands at all,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so you're not to take your arm and lift it up, and you're to like close all your fingers at the same time, like do this.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have to like extend not the first finger, not this one, this one. I have to explain to you how to like do all the things.
Yeah.
Right. And like you wouldn't know how to do that, but once you understood that, then I'd be like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. And then I explain the game to you, and then we start playing the game, and you're like, oh, okay, like now I get it. And then like I beat you like a bunch of times in a row, and you're like, so you like, then you start thinking like, okay, the first time he threw this, so he's probably gonna that next time, and then you start like really understanding.
You start getting patterns chunked in your mind of what they normally people do and stuff like
Right,
that.
and then you pass that, and then you're like, if you play with one person like all the time, you start looking in the eye. They're like, I know. Now we have a history of times we've played before.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors gets you know what's coming.
Yeah.
It's like it's intuitive almost.
Yeah.
You read it without thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a whole sequence. It's like I know that this motherfucker. He got me with scissors, rock, scissors last time.
Yeah. And then you try to start. That's why you can train with the same person like Mike Wilkins and I think you had him on, right?
Yeah.
And
not on the show yet, but he's on the show channel.
Yeah. So Mike is there all the time on the channel, and him and I have trained for, it's been like almost 13 years. I think it's been more than 13 years now. We've been training, and we know pretty much we always try to develop new technologies and weapons or whatever, against each other. But it's still fun, It's like it's still like I know what he's gonna do. Oh, is he gonna bring something new? Is he gonna react a little different today? But that's what makes that even now. That said, it's nice to train with different people. That's why it's great. We have a relatively big, diverse member base with different bodies, different techniques, and I really think that's a big advantage as you get more developed in jiu-jitsu. It's not that you can't get great with training with a few people, but I do think it limits your exposure. That's why you see these schools that are smaller. They're always like, I want to go train all over the place and stuff. Well, there's people I like to train with that aren't part of my school, even locally, but I don't really need to do that very much because we have so many great people, different bodies, different skill sets.
Yeah, styles. I think the cool thing also about having a big pool like that is it like chisels your own game away to like what actually works against more people than like it's like, okay, if I get this person in this trap, that doesn't mean it's going to work against everybody. I just got them. But it's like if this works against like 100 people that I roll with during the week, yeah, that probably works pretty well.
No, that's a great point. I didn't really think of it along those terms, but maybe that's part of why most of the great competitors you see have a decent sized pool of training partners, and if they don't, they go around and they compete a lot. That's the other thing with competing often, right? Guys, you look at great competitors in fighting sports, particularly jiu-jitsu, a lot of times they emphasize competing regularly, because it would be the same thing. You just get a bigger, test your stuff on more different people,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on a completely different note, we'll nerd out for a second. It's sort of like a nerd podcast too, right? So, do you have a? I don't know if some people do and don't have an answer for this. If you do, please elaborate. Do you have a favorite Ninja Turtle? And if you do, who is it?
Oh, geez. I did watch Ninja Turtles when I was young. I don't even. I'm trying to look back and even remember now.
No pressure.
No, you know what? I honestly can't even remember.
That's fair.
Because I did like Ninja Turtles at the time when I was young, but I think it did like a resurgence. There's a couple like more recent.
They always
or something.
There's a few years they do a new one all the time. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 30 years ago. So
Yeah.
No, more than 30. Sorry, more than that. Let's say 30 years. Let's just keep it at that.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so I can't remember which one I particularly. I can't even distinguish them in my mind now. I'm trying to think. I think I liked the. I thought the one with the swords had the best weapon.
Leonardo blue has swords.
I like that. I think maybe I liked him just because I thought like, man, if I was gonna fight, I'd want to have two swords versus like all that other stuff, right?
Right,
like,
sure.
Like a weapon, you know? Like, I don't know.
So as far as nerd stuff goes, like other than jiu-jitsu, what else did you have anything that you're super nerdy about that's not jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, a lot of stuff. One of the things that I've been into for probably more than 20 years now that's kind of weird is Advaita Vedanta philosophy, actually, or whatever you call that. That's something I've been in. really kind of a weird. I've always kind of I have this like struggle with it. You know, it's I don't. It's not like it's not my religion or even my philosophy, but it always draws me back because it's so like alien to how you live the world, how we live in the world, right? In a lot of ways, and which just real quick explanation of I don't know if I can explain the whole thing, but it's basically this. It's based on the ends of the most essential parts of a lot of times like ancient Hindu texts, right? The most modern example would be Ramana Maharshi. He was in, I think he died in the 40s. I think he was a proponent of it. But it's just a weird philosophy that I always struggle with. The basic proponent being that there's like one consciousness, I think, and it sounds like a lot of kind of new agey things, but it's very like an old very deep philosophy, and there's a lot of texts on it. I like the more modern one, like Ramana. He didn't write in English, but he understood English and to some degree a little bit, and he there's been a lot of translations. I actually knew somebody that knew him. Was kind of partly how I got into it, but anyway, that's one of the things. I have a lot of things. I have definitely I've been most of my life I like to read different history, and I like to read history from a the event standpoint, but also the more like human nature standpoint. Like what does this happen? What's that tell me about how people are, how people can be, and stuff like that. So, right. I've always liked it from that perspective. So I like that.
So what's your favorite historical event to read about?
Historical event? I would say current, right now, what am I reading? Right now, it's like the 30 Years' War. I would say it's probably the one that just I've caught on recently, and there was a fictional book that was really well researched that kind of got me on that. It was Warwolf that World War I soldier wrote. He was killed right at the beginning of World War I, but he was German, and he's extensively researched this German peasant experience in the 30 Years' War, and so that kind of got me my interest peaked in that part of history that I didn't know a whole lot about. So that one probably right now, just because I think it shaped like where we are now a lot more than, and it's not discussed very much. It's a horrific time too, just the human experience, the human experiences of people that went through that, and they were connected with me in the way that some of my ancestors were from that area, and so that just to see the things that people went through in a 30-year period of basically like lawlessness and warfare that depleted about half of the population during that time.
I was just reading about how that was like the biggest losses of human life, just like during that conflict, was just because of a whole bunch of... Yeah,
and they had census. It wasn't that long ago either. And not that the data is perfect on it, but it's it was in the 1500s. It's like not that long ago. We had modern societies. We had we had printing and stuff. It was basically not that it wasn't the same, but it wasn't that different. And there's good records on it, right? Like there's a lot of writing, a lot of people wrote about it. So it's just to see the human, just awfulness basically, and resilience too. People that did make. That was that book, The Warwolf. It was really great about it was sad and horrific, but it was also like the resilience of the people that made it through that 30 years, and it's basically most of somebody's life, and just this war, lawlessness, disease, just rampaging through, relatively modern societies, I guess. So that's the period I'm interested in right now, kind of. But it always changes. It's kind of like jiu-jitsu. You change. You go from trends, and you get on one key. Maybe you like to train with gi right now, or you're into playing guard for a while, and then I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over 20 years and wrestling another 20 years. So it's like you kind of go through these like phases in your own interest and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah. So those things, history and that. I mean, I have a lot of other things, but honestly, I wish I could live like 10 lifetimes. I kind of have that sometimes, because I'm interested in so many things, and it's just there's not enough time in a day. Honestly, it's that's the truth of it. So I've had a lot of different interests. I've had, but it's hard to focus on. It's hard to do everything. It's hard to focus on everything. So, that's where I'm at now.
So you're wrestling, like how? Because you're like a family wrestler, like you're from a wrestling family, right? Like
it's a tradition,
yeah. Can you give us just a little Stout wrestling family history?
And I'm really grateful that because I do think I'm very biased because it's something I've spent most of my life doing, but it's kind of made my identity's wrapped up in it and everything like that. But I am grateful because. And when I try to look at it objectively, which I know I can't, but I think it's a great sport. Like we talked about before, I think it's in so many different levels. But the way I was introduced, my grandfather was a very good coach and wrestler, and he coached for many years. And he was my mom's father, and my mom was really really into wrestling. So I think your mother always influences what you do, what you want to do. My father also wrestled, and he likes that kind of stuff. He's not like. He just wasn't into it to the degree that my mom's family was. But he's definitely, that he wrestled, and he's, kind of like that kind of guy, you see him getting some street fights and stuff, but he's not opposed to that kind of stuff. But my mom, my grandfather, and then my mom was really passionate about it. Her brother was a very good wrestler. I was the oldest. My mom was the oldest and I was the oldest, so I was the first one in my grandfather's family. I was the first grandchild, and I really wasn't very good at wrestling when I was young, and at all. And when I say that, I really wasn't good, And I think that it took me until I was probably 16 to start even being more or less a decent, a winning wrestler, Before that, I wasn't very good, but they always encouraged me, and they always, without doing it too hard, they didn't push me too hard, but there was a little bit of a push too, and I'm grateful for it. It wasn't like they were trying to live vicariously through me at all.
Yeah.
But they did want me to wrestle, right?
Yeah.
It was semi not optional, I would say.
Yeah.
That would be how I'd say it. I don't know. But yeah, so I wrestled, had a lot of family support. My grandmother went to all my junior high matches, traveled all over, even though I lost, I think, 50% of them. And then my grandfather retired right before I went into high school, but he was always at my, there's a lot of family presence and a lot of family, I think that's how hotbeds of things start, right? It's important to the family or to the culture around you, which that too. I mean, Pennsylvania is one of the hotbeds of world wrestling.
Yeah.
And
someone just said that we were the Dagestan. Pittsburgh is the Dagestan of the U.S.
I think that's true, and I think that you can almost say that Dagestan is the Pittsburgh of the Middle East, because it's we them and us have both produced a lot of world level champions and continue to. So I think that I grew up in that. I had a lot of support, and I became a pretty good wrestler. I wasn't a great wrestler. I didn't accomplish the goals that I wanted to at all. I remember when I wrestled at Lehigh University, and you have to give a little speech when you graduate at the wrestling banquet. And I said, that's what I said. That was basically my speech. I was like, I didn't accomplish all my goals. And while I was giving the speech, I realized it. I was like, you know what? I think nobody accomplishes all their goals that they want. Very few. It's like a perfect everything record. So, I kind of colors it a little different how you see it. I did good for me. I was happy. I was disappointed in some of the things I did. And I learned a lot about myself, So that was my wrestling. And then wrestling, I kind of pivoted off of wrestling. I could have just stopped, but I luckily the timing was such that I had the opportunity to go to Brazil right after I graduated and started training with Gracie, and that. Because
the Hickson's brother, or with
So the Halls.
Oh, not Halls. Okay, not Halls.
Was Hollis's father.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Halls was Hickson's brother / main training partner / and one of the greatest of all times. A lot of people just argument about that, but he died in a hang gliding accident when Hollis was very young. Hollis was his oldest, who I went and lived with and trained with in Brazil. He wanted me to help him with some wrestling techniques and train wrestling with him. And I had that opportunity, and it was so amazing because had I been 5-10 years older, I wouldn't have had that opportunity, most likely. It was just the timing and what was going on in the world. Jiu-Jitsu was just on the very verge. I mean, people didn't know about it yet. It still wasn't, certainly not like it is now, but it was starting to get that way. I had that great opportunity, and I stayed with it. It was enough as the trend went that I could see a path to making it into a living and a career, which it's great. I think I was glad that I was able to do that, and some of it was I made conscious choices to do that, but also the timing was a big part of it. Like if I would have been 15 years younger, I probably would have gone into a different field because I probably couldn't have made a living doing jiu-jitsu, or it would have been very difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. So as a coach, do you have any? Do you have any? Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Any tips for either people who are new at coaching or people who have been coaching for a long time, or both?
Well, I'm gonna take a little different tact on that. I kind of struggle with coaching, to be honest, and I think there's there's a couple different fields that you can be in. I do coaching, and I would say most of the coaching I do is for our advanced kids, which are mostly 14 to 10, and a few of them, and also with one of our guys, Christian. That's the majority of the coaching that I do. Other than that, and coaching is I think it's very intimate in that you have to know their game. I don't think you can coach a huge group of people, in my opinion. This is my advice for, I guess, I don't have a lot of advice, but that's the way I see it. And then I see, I think there's some other roles that a lot of, I can be a role as a developer of training methods and overall strategy, vibe and stuff. And that's a role that I think a lot of school owners and group leaders take on. Like even head coaches in wrestling programs, it's a little bit more of that, right? Like you look at it like a Cale Sanderson, and that's his role, although he does do coaching as well because he has a smaller group and people, but that's why they have assistant coaches, because those guys are doing most of that, what I would consider coaching, like one-on-one, like do this, tweak this is your game, maybe, more on an individual level. And then there's overall the organization where Cale's like, we need to use these techniques, we need to, this is the atmosphere we want to create in our school. So I do that a lot. That's more of my role in Stout, I guess, than because I have great coaches. I mean, I got Mike Wilkins. We talked about him. Amazing coach, right? Like, and he's also an amazing coach in the moment, right? Like, so while I don't do I'm not very vocal when I'm cornering people or when I'm coaching on the sidelines. Mike is a little bit more vocal. He's great. Like, it's. Oh no,
I know. It's amazing.
He's been.
Incredible.
And it's very useful to have somebody like that. But I have a lot of great coaches, and I think those. And then the other thing is, and this isn't, I wouldn't consider coaching, but it might fall under like what I think a lot of jiu-jitsu school owners. This is just like teaching, right? Like in how you create a teaching environment for people who want to learn jiu-jitsu and have all different various goals. And I think my advice for that would be to. You can go about it two ways. You can have a school that's only focused on a very specific goal. And I think because you're pulling from a local market, you probably have to supplement that if you want to do really good with some kind of online thing and notoriety. But you can also, I embrace like a whole bunch of, I understand that people have a whole bunch of different goals, right? Like people have, there's people that are mostly into self-defense, there's people that want to compete in sport, there's people that are MMA fighters, and they all have a little bit different goals. So I would say as a teacher, you should be at the minimum aware of that and better like actively looking to cater to those groups while also creating a program that can feed everybody. So at the beginning levels we have the basic movements that translate to all that stuff, and we emphasize that. And then as you get more specialized, this is your goal, this is your goal, this is your goal, we have a path for that in our school. So that's something that I have done, and I think that's helped our school continue to grow and serve a bigger group of people, right? We're not trying to be everything to all people, but at the same time, even if it can be as small as a group of 2, like our goals aren't exactly the same in jiu-jitsu. So, how can I best serve the group versus serving individual goals? So think about that as a teacher. That would be my advice. Just I don't have any this is how you do it right now, but that'd be a bigger scope of a discussion. But I think at least being aware of that and thinking about overall the group versus these individual goals and how fine of a grain you want to put on catering to each individual and balancing that. So that'd be one thing. And I think another thing that I would say, as far as and this is not so much coaching, but more like jiu-jitsu school owner kind of thing. I would say create a balance between having an authentic school and having a successful business. And I think there's a certain aspect of those things that conflict, but I think you can, at least I've been able to do both, have both, right? I don't have to do things that are just business practices to sell people. But at the same time, I don't have to just focus on 30 competitors and have, barely be able to pay my bills and stuff, So you want to balance that. And I think at a certain point, if you do create that balance, they'll feed on each other and promote both of them, and that's what I've always gone for anyway. So.
And I think what you just said has a lot to do with what we were talking about the other day and what you just said before that, which is like the difference between like the types of people who want to do the different things that have to do with this, right? It's like what type of person does this attract in the first place? Even if it attracts some like other people, like you don't want to lose them. It's like you want to keep them. If they don't want to compete or whatever, they don't want to or people who are like maybe they do want to compete, but they're like they're just like on the hair edge of like being the kind of person who's like comfortable with like just like getting their hands on them, right? So it's like if you don't do it just right for that person, like you might lose them, and they might be be the best jiu-jitsu person of all time. It's like like what if the first day that like Danaher or somebody like came into the gym, someone just smashed the fuck out of him, he was like, fuck this. Like how many people has that happened to?
Probably many, and unfortunately it's probably even happened in our gym. And that's, I think you're 100% right. Like you have to balance that, like you have to, you're gonna lose some people, like unfortunately, like that. Minimize that, like create paths for everybody, while at the same time it goes the other way too, like if there's somebody that is a young 24-year-old and just wants to compete, and you're in there doing real slow, you might lose them too. So there has to be a balance, and there has to be paths for different people that you create within your organization or your school, if you have something like we do that's that's catering to the public. I mean, it's much different if you're Cale Sanderson and you have a bunch of elite athletes, and that's a whole different thing.
Sure.
Right? And even Danaher, I would say, you mentioned John Danaher. We were just down at New Wave again, and always super grateful the chance to train with that group and with him. He's amazing, and he's been a big influence on me and coaching me and teaching online and everything. But he, I think that he's even in that he's put himself in that category. That's what he likes to do. He wants elite competitors, and that's all he cares about. Basically, mostly right now, at least right now, he caters to the other people, the larger jiu-jitsu community, through his online stuff. So that's it's very specialized there. So you're not going to go there if you're not a at that if you're not that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's obviously a lot further on his jiu-jitsu journey than I am. But like, I think my favorite thing so far, like that I go for, is that like moment where someone laughs, like for the first time when they laugh because like we were just rolling and they're just like, oh, that I don't even know what just happened. Like I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like the aha moment you were just talking about earlier. Yeah. Like the one when you get if you can be there when like and you do the thing and that's their aha moment when you're doing it. It's like, I know that's good.
That's a cool feeling. Yeah. It's like so bring it. We've got to end here because I got to run to pick up my son. But that's a Danaher thing. He said something once to and I don't know if I ever talked about this on a podcast before. I remember him saying, I forget what it was. Maybe he would not even remember. But somebody asked him what the closest profession was to being a jiu-jitsu teacher, and he said a magician. Professional magician. Yeah. Because there you go, you get that aha moment, right? Yeah. And it's all that same thing. You're building skill at the same time. You're using psychology. You're looking at what your capabilities are yourself. So, yeah, I've thought about it a lot. I don't know what he was talking. He didn't elaborate at the time when I always wanted to ask him about that. But yeah, maybe I'll. I'd like to talk to him about that sometime. But I think that's a astute observation on your part too, because that's like. That moment is beautiful as a teacher or a coach.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, because when it happens to you the first time, you're like, that was a trick. That didn't just happen. Like, you didn't just like roll me over. I was like totally on top of you. What's going to happen? Like, yeah. But well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime. And sorry. So rushing around.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll maybe we get General on here next time. Really get wild.
Yeah.
I was laughing earlier. I wasn't laughing at your description of him being loud. So I was like the gross understatement of you saying like, yeah, he's like a little bit louder than me. He's like, yeah, he's a little bit louder than you.
Definitely different personalities. But thanks, Jared.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for being on.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Do all the liking and the subscribing and stuff, and we'll see you next time.